The Discovery, the cargo vessel Meridian, drifted through the dark void of space, its hull scarred by countless journeys across the galaxy's most dangerous trade routes. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge, watching the stars through the reinforced viewport. Her weathered hands gripped the rail as she studied the navigation charts. The ship was carrying medical supplies to a colony world on the edge of human space. Traveling through sectors that most captains avoided. Elena had been flying cargo ships for 23 years. She knew every sound her vessel made, every vibration that traveled through its aging hull. The Meridian wasn't the newest ship in the fleet, but it was reliable. More importantly, it was fast when it needed to be. In the dangerous regions of space, where pirates and hostile aliens roamed freely, speed often meant the difference between survival and destruction. Dr. James Park worked quietly in the engineering section, surrounded by displays showing the ship's power systems. He wasn't supposed to be on this cargo run. As one of Earth's leading fusion specialists, his place was in a research laboratory, not aboard a freight hauler heading into disputed territory, but the colony they were rushing to. Help needed more than medical supplies. They needed someone who could repair their failing power grid before their life support systems failed completely. James had spent the journey making modifications to the Meridian's fusion reactor. The ship's original power plant was adequate for normal cargo operations, but James knew they might need every bit of energy they could generate. Using techniques he had developed during his years of research, he had carefully adjusted the reactor's magnetic containment fields and plasma flow patterns. The modifications weren't in any textbook, but they worked. The reactor was now producing 30% more power than its original specifications suggested was possible. The bridge communications array suddenly came alive with incoming signals. Elena moved quickly to her command chair as her crew reported. Multiple contacts appearing on their sensors. The ships materializing around them were unlike anything in human design. Their hulls were smooth and organic-looking, covered in what appeared to be living metal that shifted and flowed like liquid mercury. Energy patterns danced across their surfaces in hypnotic waves of blue and silver light. Elena counted 12 vessels surrounding the Meridian. Each one was 3 times larger than her cargo ship. Their weapon ports were visible but not actively targeting the human vessel, which Elena took as a positive sign. She had encountered alien ships before, but never this many at once. Her crew was experienced, but they all knew they were completely outmatched if this encounter turned hostile. A transmission reached the Meridian's communication system. The message was automatically translated by the ship's computer, though the artificial voice couldn't capture the complex tonal qualities of the original alien language. Human vessel, you are in Zephyrian Empire territory. Prepare for inspection. Do not resist or attempt to flee. Elena activated her ship's transmitter. This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the cargo vessel Meridian. We are on a humanitarian mission to deliver medical supplies to a colony world. We mean no harm and will comply with your inspection. Admiral Kethfer commanded the Zephyrian fleet. From his flagship, the Stellar Talon, his elongated form was perfectly adapted for life in the zero-gravity environments that his species preferred. His skin had a translucent quality that revealed the complex network of vessels carrying luminescent fluid throughout his body. 4 arms allowed him to operate multiple control systems simultaneously, while his large compound eyes could perceive electromagnetic radiation across a much broader spectrum than human vision. The Admiral had been patrolling this sector for over 2 standard years. Human ships occasionally passed through Zephyrian space, and most encounters were routine. Humans were a young species, barely 3 centuries into their spacefaring age. Their technology was primitive compared to the Zephyrian Empire's capabilities, but they were generally peaceful traders who posed no threat to established galactic powers. Science Officer Veltara operated the scanning systems from her position near the Admiral. Her specialized equipment could analyze any vessel's technology, power systems, and potential threat level within minutes. The scans were so detailed they could identify the atomic composition of a ship's hull and determine the exact specifications of its engines and weapons. This information was essential for maintaining the security of Zephyrian territory. Velthara initiated the standard scanning sequence, directing multiple sensor beams toward the human cargo ship. The beams penetrated the Meridian's hull, mapping every component and system aboard the vessel. She expected to find typical human technology: crude chemical rockets, basic nuclear reactors, simple computer systems that relied on binary processing. Instead, her instruments began registering readings that made no sense according to established scientific principles. The human ship's fusion reactor was producing energy signatures that should have been impossible for such a small and apparently primitive power plant. The magnetic containment fields were operating in configurations that violated several fundamental laws of plasma physics. Most puzzling of all, the reactor's efficiency ratings were approaching levels that even advanced Zephyrian technology struggled to achieve. Velthara ran the scan sequence 3 more times, certain that her equipment was malfunctioning. Each scan produced identical results. She turned to Admiral Kethfa, her bioluminescent patterns flickering in patterns that indicated confusion and concern. "Admiral, you need to see these readings. The human vessel is generating power levels that should not be possible with their technology." Admiral Kethfa moved to Velthara Station, his 4 arms quickly accessing multiple data streams simultaneously. His compound eyes studied the energy signatures, plasma flow patterns, and magnetic field configurations that the sensors had detected aboard the human ship. Like his science officer, he initially assumed the readings were caused by equipment malfunction. But as he analyzed the data more carefully, he realized they were observing something unprecedented. The humans had taken a basic fusion reactor design and modified it in ways that no Zephyrian engineer would have considered. They were using magnetic field geometries that created plasma instabilities which should have resulted in immediate reactor shutdown. Instead, they had somehow harnessed these instabilities to increase energy output. Their approach violated conventional engineering wisdom, but the results were undeniable. Admiral Kethfa had studied human technology for many years. Humans were known for their adaptability and resourcefulness, but they were also considered predictable in their technological development. They followed logical progression paths that all spacefaring species eventually discovered. Fusion power led to antimatter systems, which led to zero-point energy extraction, which eventually led to dimensional energy tapping. This was the natural order of technological advancement, but the readings from the Meridian suggested that humans were developing technology in ways that bypassed normal developmental stages. They were achieving results that should have required centuries of additional research and development. More concerning, they were doing it using modifications that appeared to be improvised rather than carefully engineered. Velthara continued her analysis, focusing on the specific modifications that the humans had made to their reactor systems. The changes were elegant in their simplicity, but they required an intuitive understanding of plasma dynamics that few scientists in the galaxy possessed. Whoever had made these modifications understood fusion physics at a level that rivaled the most advanced researchers in the Zephyrian Empire. The implications were staggering. If humans could achieve these results with basic fusion technology, what might they be capable of with access to more advanced power systems? If they could modify simple reactors to produce impossible energy outputs, how might they approach antimatter, containment, or dimensional energy manipulation? The possibilities were both exciting and terrifying. Admiral Kethper faced a decision that would affect not only his fleet, but potentially the entire balance of power in this region of the galaxy. Standard protocol required him to classify any unexpected technological capabilities as potential threats. The human vessel should be captured, its crew interrogated, and its technology analyzed by Zephyrian scientists. This was the safe, predictable response that would protect his empire's interests. But Admiral Kethfer was also a scientist by training. He understood that genuine innovation was rare in the galaxy. Most species followed predictable technological development paths because those paths were safe and reliable. True breakthrough discoveries were exceptional events that could benefit all intelligent life. The modifications aboard the human ship represented exactly the kind of innovative thinking that could advance galactic civilization. The Admiral knew that if he ordered the capture of the Meridian, the humans would likely resist. Even if they were taken alive, they would be unlikely to share their knowledge freely. Fear and resentment would make them poor sources of information. Worse, other human vessels would eventually discover what had happened, potentially creating a diplomatic crisis between the Zephyrian Empire and humanity. Admiral Kethber turned to his communications officer. Open a direct channel to the human ship. I want to speak with their commander immediately. The Revelation Captain, Elena Rodriguez, felt her heart racing as the alien admiral's image appeared. On the main screen of the Meridian's bridge, Admiral Kethfer was unlike any being she had ever encountered. His translucent skin revealed intricate patterns of glowing vessels, and his forearms moved with fluid grace as he operated multiple control interfaces simultaneously. Despite his alien appearance, his compound eyes seemed to hold intelligence and curiosity rather than hostility. Captain Rodriguez, Admiral Kethfer, began, his voice carrying harmonic overtones that the translation system couldn't fully capture. I am Admiral Kethfer of the Zephyrian Empire. Our scans of your vessel have revealed something extraordinary. Your ship's power systems are operating far beyond what we believed possible for human technology. I must understand how you have achieved this. Elena glanced at Dr. Park, who had joined her on the bridge when the alien fleet first appeared. James looked nervous but determined. He stepped forward, facing the screen directly. Admiral, I'm Dr. James Park, the engineer responsible for the modifications to our reactor. I adjusted the plasma containment fields and magnetic bottle configuration to increase efficiency. It's not particularly complicated. Admiral Kethfer's bioluminescent patterns shifted to what Elena guessed might be surprise. Dr. Park, our analysis indicates that your modifications should result in catastrophic plasma instabilities. According to established physics, your reactor should have suffered complete containment failure within minutes of activation. Yet our sensors show it has been operating in this configuration for several days. James nodded thoughtfully. Yes, the instabilities were a problem initially, but I realized that instead of trying to eliminate them completely, I could use them to create additional heating zones within the plasma. The instabilities actually help distribute energy more evenly throughout the reaction chamber. It's counterintuitive, but it works. Science Officer Valthera appeared beside Admiral Kethfer on the screen. Her form was similar to the Admiral's, but her bioluminescent patterns were more complex and rapidly changing. Dr. Park, this approach contradicts fundamental principles of plasma physics. How did you determine that controlled instabilities could improve reactor efficiency? Trial and error, mostly, James replied with a slight smile. I've been working with fusion systems for 15 years. You develop intuition about how plasma behaves. When I saw the instability patterns forming, I recognized they were following a predictable cycle. Instead of suppressing them, I adjusted the magnetic field geometry to guide them into useful configurations. Admiral Kethfer leaned forward, his interest clearly growing. You modified a fusion reactor based on intuition rather than mathematical modeling. This is unprecedented. In our experience, plasma physics requires precise calculations and extensive computer modeling to achieve stable operations. Alina watched the exchange with fascination. She had always known that James was brilliant, but she was beginning to understand that his approach to engineering was fundamentally different from what these advanced aliens expected. Dr. Park, she said, perhaps you could show Admiral Kethfer how the modifications work. James nodded and activated a holographic display that showed the Meridian's reactor in real time. The three-dimensional image revealed the complex magnetic field patterns that contained the superheated plasma. Bright streams of particles flowed in seemingly chaotic patterns. But James pointed out the underlying order that his modifications had created. See here, James explained, highlighting specific regions of the plasma flow. These instabilities create secondary heating zones that increase the overall reaction rate. The key is maintaining just enough instability to boost efficiency without allowing complete breakdown of containment. It's like surfing on the edge of chaos. Valthera's patterns became even more complex as she studied the display. Dr. Park, our computer models suggest that this configuration should collapse within microseconds. How do you maintain stability? Dynamic adjustment, James replied. The magnetic field generators are constantly making tiny corrections based on real-time plasma behavior. The system adapts to changing conditions instead of trying to maintain rigid parameters. It's more like piloting a spacecraft than operating a machine. Admiral Kethfer was quiet for several moments, clearly processing this information. Finally, he spoke again. Dr. Park, what you are describing represents a completely different approach to engineering than what we have seen from any species. You are treating complex systems as if they were living organisms that require adaptive responses rather than precise control. Exactly, James said, his enthusiasm growing. Most human engineers think this way. We don't have the computational power to model every variable in a complex system, so we learn to work with the system's natural tendencies instead of fighting against them. It's more efficient and often leads to unexpected improvements. Alina realized that this conversation was revealing something profound about human nature that even she hadn't fully understood. Humans approached problems differently because they had to. Their technology was less advanced, their computational resources were limited, and their understanding of fundamental physics was incomplete. But these limitations had forced them to develop alternative approaches that could sometimes produce superior results. Admiral Kethfer seemed to reach a similar conclusion. Captain Rodriguez, I believe your species possesses capabilities that could benefit the entire galactic community. Rather than treating this as a routine inspection, I would like to propose a formal exchange of knowledge between our peoples. Alina felt a surge of excitement. First contact with an advanced alien civilization was beyond anything she had imagined when she began this cargo run. Admiral, we would be honored to participate in such an exchange, but I should mention that we are currently on a humanitarian mission. The colony we're heading to is facing a critical power shortage that could cost lives. Then perhaps this is an opportunity to demonstrate the benefits of cooperation, Admiral Kethva replied. Science Officer Velthara, prepare one of our engineering teams to accompany the human vessel. We can assist with their mission while learning more about their technological approaches. Velthara's patterns shifted to what Helena interpreted as approval. Admiral, I volunteer to lead the team personally. This is a remarkable opportunity to study human engineering methods firsthand. Dr. Park looked surprised but pleased. We would welcome your assistance. The colony's power grid is based on older fusion technology that's failing due to component degradation. With your advanced knowledge and our adaptive approaches, we might be able to create a solution that's better than anything either of our species could develop alone. Admiral Kethva made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Very well. Science Officer Velthara will transfer to your vessel with a small team of specialists. Captain Rodriguez, you will proceed to your destination with a Zephyrian escort. This will ensure your safety and allow us to observe your problem-solving methods in action. Elena felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. This was no longer just a cargo run to deliver medical supplies. She was now representing humanity in its first major diplomatic contact with an advanced alien civilization. The decisions made in the coming days could determine whether humans would be welcomed as equals in the galactic community or dismissed as primitive newcomers. As the two ships prepared for the unprecedented collaboration, both species were about to discover that their different approaches to technology and problem-solving were complementary rather than contradictory. The Zephyrians' advanced theoretical knowledge, combined with human, intuitive engineering, would prove to be a powerful combination. Dr. Park began preparing for the arrival of the alien engineering team, gathering data about the colony's failing power systems and considering how human and Zephyrian technologies might be integrated. He realized that this was an opportunity to demonstrate that human ingenuity wasn't just about making do with limited resources. It was about finding creative solutions that others might overlook. Admiral Kethva contacted his superiors in the Zephyrian Empire, reporting that he had encountered a species with unexpected technological capabilities. He recommended that formal diplomatic relations be established with humanity, arguing that their unique approaches to engineering could accelerate technological development throughout the galaxy. Science Officer Velthara prepared for her transfer to the human ship, excited by the prospect of working directly with engineers who thought in ways that challenged conventional wisdom. She had spent her career studying the established principles of physics and engineering, but the humans seemed to achieve results by intuition and adaptation that formal training said was impossible. As the Meridian resumed course toward the endangered colony, now accompanied by a Zephyrian escort, both species were beginning to understand that this encounter would mark the beginning of a new era in galactic civilization. The combination of human creativity and alien knowledge promised to unlock possibilities that neither species could achieve alone. The voyage to the colony would serve as a testing ground for this unprecedented cooperation. If human and Zephyrian engineers could work together successfully to solve the colony's power crisis, it would demonstrate that different approaches to technology and problem-solving could complement each other rather than compete. Elena looked Out at the stars, now shared with alien vessels that had become allies rather than threats, she realized that the cargo run that began as a simple humanitarian mission had become something much more significant. The Meridian was no longer just carrying medical supplies to a distant colony. It was carrying the hopes and dreams of an entire species toward a future filled with unprecedented possibilities for cooperation and mutual understanding among the stars. Asterisk.